Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the AskOkey podcast. We've got several topics to talk about this evening. I'd like to start with some shout outs and a call to action from all of you out there. The shout out goes to Maurice Humphreys. Thank you very much for your donation. As you can see, Okey and I are fairly well fed, but every little bit does count, so thank you again for your generosity. If you're not subscribing or following, please do so immediately. Pick up your phone, go and click, and you'll be on the list and a member of the community like everybody else. And the number, of course, is growing. Now, it's interesting being on the social media channels because we get extraordinary number of comments from a very, very wide variety of people. And one of the greatest honors I think that anyone can have is to inspire somebody to poetry. And I happened this evening to come across somebody wrote a poem on Instagram in Okey's honor. Okey, he's the man. If he can't do it, no one can. Simple, got a certain elegance to it, and that is from Cynthia, Sinsual C829. So thank you very much, Cynthia. Okey's extremely flattered. Another interesting thing is the names that people use for myself and Okey, Pete and the Proff. Now this is interesting because in one of the reels where we appear together, the commenter writes, "Honky can't wear those clothes, only the brother can." Now I assume that I'm the honky, right? Which means that, Okey, you're the brother. So that's us, the honky and the brother. There we are. Some people use far less flattering names, but we take it all in our stride. There's nothing you can do about it when you're exposed to the public, Okey, as we are. Before we start in on matters clothing and sartorial topics, one thing I've noticed is that when we do those videos before we do the podcast, and you have the music on, you have an inexhaustible knowledge of what I would probably classify as 70s soul music. Eddie Pendergrass, Al Green, for example. I'm sure Barry White gets in there somewhere. Where did you come across this, and what got you into that particular genre?
Wow. Well, I would correct you slightly, and my interest goes beyond just soul music. Of course.
Okay.
I enjoy music as a matter of being. I think that the creative mind or the artist mind is a wholesome one. And it is very rare that you find an artist who is not, if not the creator of a specific art, but at least an appreciator. In many cases, a connoisseur of any number of arts. And so for me, music is something that I've lived with for a very long time. And I've discussed this with Captain on occasion, and I said in another life I could have been a music producer. And a lot of people comment on Instagram, for instance, "Oh wow, we love your taste in music." I said, "Well, this is just what I listen to. This is what appeals to me. It's whether it's the wind instruments or the drums or the rhythm or what have you, or the way the instruments are arranged. This is just what appeals to me." And so I think that I have a gift. What they would call an ear for sound. Now, I haven't pursued it, because obviously there are any number of things. There are other things to pursue, right? But it's music is something that I enjoy, something that I love, and I take a keen interest in. And a lot of the songs, the lyrics, for instance, I tend to have what do they call it again? A photographic memory when it comes to words.
I think they call it an eidictic.
I don't know. I don't know the exact word for it, the exact English word for it, but I could listen to a song a couple of times, 2-3 times, and I could pick up sort of the main key lyrics in it. And so that's how I know a lot of the songs, and that's how, when I mime to them, because I'm not really singing a lot of the times, there's a cover, an overlay over it.
Sure.
And I'm just miming to it. But I am singing the lyrics because a lot of them I just mentally stored the lyrics.
Sure.
So there you have it.
Okay. Now, some of you out there have spoken about Proff's voice and its remarkable qualities. You compare him to Morgan Freeman, among others. Personally, I would say the closest comparison is the late, great Lou Rawls. Some of you are old enough to remember Lou Rawls and the songs he used to sing. And that reminds me, Prof, I've got to put you onto him because there is a similarity in the voice. Now, let's get on to matters to do with clothing, which is why you're all here, of course. And we've got Prof looking dashing, elegant, and very sporty in a suit that's not entirely seasonal.
As you would say, riveting.
It is fairly riveting. Yes, I think so. Yes. I think we could.
That's one of my favorite words of yours.
Okay, I think we could say
Prof looks riveting.
Riveting. There we are. Prof looks riveting, and let's talk a little bit about it, and then we'll get into some of the finer details, because there's a sort of virtual war going out there between the thin trouser brigade and their opponents, led by the brother here. And the honky is an adherent also of the Prof's style. And I thought we ought to get into some of the reasons for what we do and the way we do it. So to start with, what have we got here? We've got a linen suit.
Correct, Pete. It's a linen cotton blend, and this is what you might call an aqua blue. What would you call this?
Sky blue?
I guess it's not really it's not quite a sky blue. It's sort of a combination of like blue and turquoise and a bunch of things, and of course white threads. But be it as it may, it's a light blue, which would be the simplest way to put it, and it's made in cotton and linen. It's 50-50 cotton linen. Of course, cotton is often blended with linen just to stabilize the linen. Otherwise, linen, as you know, wrinkles a lot.
Yeah,
and
it does.
So if you're worried about wrinkles and walking out of your house and within 5 minutes looking like you just rolled out of bed, cotton is a good way to quieten or to stabilize the linen rather than going 100% linen. You could sort of have a cotton linen blend, and you have some of that wrinkly qualities of linen, but then the cotton sort of keeps it stable. So this is cotton linen by Fox Brothers. Again, one of those cloths that they publish or release every now and then in their limited edition bunch. I think they might still have some length of it, but I got this some time ago, and I thought, wow, wouldn't this be nice to be, wouldn't it be nice to turn this into a lovely casual double-breasted suit?
Yes, a casual double-breasted suit.
There we are.
Because double-breasted suits are so often associated with not formal, but sort of serious occasions or serious wear.
They are dressy. They are very dressy. Actually, I think they're far more dressy than single-breasted. But I think they hold that special place in the wardrobe where you can bookmark them, right? They can be dressed up and they could be dressed down significantly.
Now, would you say yours is dressed up or down?
Well, this is clearly very casual. You certainly wouldn't wear this to the office or to the lodge. This is something you might wear to a summer picnic.
Indeed.
Or a daytime soiree.
Right. And it's what weight are we talking about there for the fabric?
This has got to be, I would reckon, about 12 ounces.
Now, how?
12, 13 ounces.
Is that heavy for linen?
Well, I mean, linen gets quite heavy. I mean, actually, I prefer sturdier linen. Irish linen, I mean, they go all the way up to 16 ounces or more.
Right.
I think the sweet spot for Irish linen, 100% linen, to be able to maintain the integrity, meaning sort of to have enough body to hold the shape. I typically draw the line at about 14 ounces. Anything below that, I'm not interested.
Okay.
Because anything 14 and above crumples.
Yeah.
Anything 14 and below, if you start to get down around 10 ounces, it's basically what I call tissue paper.
Yeah, okay. And then that's when it starts to bag in the knee,
It starts
bag
to
in
bag.
the elbow.
It looks a mess 5 minutes after you put it on.
It's interesting that, because one of the challenges with buying what you might call not bargain basement, but bargain clothes, especially for men, is that they lose their shape. Have you noticed that? And even if you iron them, they just don't hold up, and they start to sag in the seat and in the knee particularly.
Well, it comes down to the quality of the cloth, which is why going cheap on the cloth, especially when having your clothes tailored, is being pound smart or penny smart, pound foolish. So cloth, the integrity of the cloth is always prime, right? It's always paramount.
Well, it's amazing how cheap cloth can be, because if you imagine you can buy a suit for £200 or $250, that wouldn't pay for the fabric for your trousers. I mean, it's astonishing how, and this is a product that presumably has probably got a markup of, I don't know, 100% at least. So if you add in the labor, they're paying absolutely nothing for the fabric.
Well, I mean, they are paying something, but these are factory-made garments, and you get what you pay for. So if you're buying a suit for $250 or even $500 or even $1,000, right? You have to reckon the cloth costs, all of it. So you're looking at 3 meters of suiting, right?
At least.
Or 3.5 meters. Or let's just say 4 meters. You reckon, out of that $1,000, out of that $500, let's say for $500 suit, the fabric couldn't certainly not be more than $50.
There you go.
Because when you add all the other costs, let's say your all-in cost is $150, the markup is 3x for retailers, right? So you reckon it would have to have cost them about $150 to make everything, right? To get it at the factory door, to get it to the loading bay, for them to sell it for $450, $500. And so out of that $150, it's got to be at least at most a third of it cloth. Right, for 3 meters of cloth. So you do the math.
So you're talking about $15 a meter.
Something like that.
Yeah. But yours, that cotton and linen mix, that looks like a good idea, particularly for the summer, because I expect it wears fairly cool, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it wears, it's a summer cloth for certain. I thought I'd wear something that contrasts.
Indeed.
With your very, very debonair and elegant business Glencheck.
Yeah, I suppose we could say business, yes.
I've gone for something a bit more exuberant.
Exuberant,
as I've been known to.
As you've been known to do.
What I've been known to use over and over again. So I just chose to wear this today because I just wanted something that contrasts. Something a bit more playful, more colorful. That contrasts.
Well, we have seen over the past few months quite a variety of colors. I mean, there's the famous lavender suit that garnered
a bit of attention.
A fair share of attention, I must say, from various people. One chap actually...
Or notoriety.
Well, one fellow actually made up his own suit in a sort of similar color.
Well, actually in the same cloth, because he did inquire.
Ah, okay.
I did inquire the provenance of the cloth, and I was, shall I say, gracious enough to share its provenance, and he was able to secure for himself a few yards, yes.
From Vienna?
That is correct. That is correct.
And then we've got the light blue is positively sober and restrained compared to some of the patterns. And do you think light colors are advisable for everybody?
Well, if you're pale, then you ought to be a bit more careful because coloring, art is all about contrast, right?
Yes.
So if you think about you're sort of a walking...
That's right.
walking canvas, more or less. And so your skin provides the background, and then everything else you put on top of it is part of the painting. And so I think for fairer skinned people, fairer skinned gentlemen, lighter colors are not always very flattering or recommended. Say if you're very pale skinned, for instance, you probably don't want to wear things like cream or white.
Yes, and of course they show the dirt.
They show that's another problem. But in terms of just pairing colors with your natural skin color.
Yes.
I am fortunate enough to be dark skinned, and so the dark skin provides sufficient contrast.
Yes, indeed.
So I could probably wear a lot more colors than you can, just because.
Almost certainly. Well, you do. Not only that you can, but you actually do. I tend to stick to the basics. And then we've got a very smart-looking shirt with pale red or pink stripes.
Well, it is the pink block stripes. It's pink block stripes. It's a shirt, one of ours.
One of the AskOkey.
Made in Carlo River cloth.
Yes.
So,
and provides a nice contrast to the blue.
Yes, because when you're painting, you're thinking pastels. So this is a pastel, of course. The light blue is sort of, it's not quite a light blue, it's sort of like a turquoise, like let's say sort of a muted turquoise. So it's a pastel, and you want to combine it with something else in the pastel family. So pink would be something in the pastel family, but it's a very, very low saturated pink. And so it doesn't really stand out that much.
No, it doesn't. No.
It just sort of sits back but provides a little bit of contrast. And then the tie, generally, I picked something that essentially grounds the entire outfit. So it's something navy with sort of reds, something a bit more, something that anchors all of the outfit. So I couldn't do anything, say for instance, I couldn't have done something pastel or anything flamboyant. You need something very calm to sort of ground the entire outfit.
Bring it down a notch, as you might say. And the very smart shoes, okay. Where, if you don't mind my asking, where do you get your shoes?
So these shoes are, these particular ones are by Edward Green, which is a Northampton shoemaker. They've been around for a very long time. They make really very good shoes. And I patronized them exclusively for quite some years before I realized that I had foot problems. I have plantar fasciitis, and I had to have my shoes made. So I switched to my current shoemaker, which is a Viennese company, St. Crispin's.
That's so Viennese, is it? Okay.
Most of these shoes you see here are made by Philip, my friend Philip Carr of St. Crispin's. But I do have a few holdovers. These are actually custom made by Edward Green. I very seldom wear them, but today I thought I wanted to do something that works with these colors. And a dark burgundy, for instance, was one option.
Right.
Okay? So one option was a dark burgundy, but if you look at this, dark burgundy, the contrast is too stark.
It's too dark.
It's too dark. I use the word stark. I remember in the pink suit video, I got a lot of heat for using the word stark. So I'm going to use it again, stark. The contrast is too stark.
Yes.
And so burgundy is the right color to pair with this because you've got your reds here. You've got sort of deep burgundy.
Yeah.
You've got your pink.
Yes.
So a brown pair of shoes would have been out of place.
Right.
Black certainly would have been out of place.
Right.
So it calls for burgundy, but it has to be just the right shade of burgundy. Just the right shade. And this would have been too dark.
Yes.
And so we went for a slightly lighter shade of burgundy, which is what we have here. And this is the Edward Green Cadogan. I believe that's the model. It's a Cadogan on the 202 last. And I had this specially made for me some years ago.
Interesting. And what about white shoes. Would that work with this combination?
Well, I mean, if you're a dandy, I can see how dirty box could work. Not white.
Right. Off-white.
Not white. Off-white, sort of like dirty box, in the summer. I could see how you could pull that off if you're a true dandy. Like white buckskin shoes with, let's say, a fedora. A Panama hat.
Interesting. Interesting.
So if you had a Panama hat, like a light, obviously, similar shade as that, I could see how if you had the chutzpah, as we want to say, if you had the chutzpah, you could certainly pull that off.
You could. Some people could. Some people could. We were just talking about Proff's shoes, and the point being that you would need to have several shades of burgundy in your shoe rack to get just the right effect. And if you really want to push the boat out, you will have several shades of brown as well, and then you make sure that your shoes kind of play on your tie, and then you've got the handkerchief as well, and it all works perfectly. Now, this is perhaps not something that many of us think about. I have to say, I don't think about these things very often. But it's worth being reminded that ultimately that's what we're aiming for. And a word of advice for all of you out there: if you find that you can't get the clothes that you want in the colors and materials that you want, imitate the Proff and start your own clothing company, which of course the Proff did in order to be able to get the things that he wants. And I think apart from the socks and the shoes, it's all AskOkey. So that's really, I'm sorry to say, what you're going to have to do. Now, down to business. Many of you, thousands I think I could say of you, have been writing, some of you very politely, some of you
not so
perhaps
politely.
Writing in haste, shall we say, or after a few beverages, have been writing about the Proff's outfits. You don't write very often about mine, but that's because you don't see me very often. And the words baggy, floppy, large, big, wide have been used indiscriminately, and I have to say loosely. The alternative, and which has been promoted by some of you, is that nowadays men wear narrow pants and that's just all there is to it. And what I'd like to do now is, with Okey's assistance, is to explain a little bit that what you see is not actually wide. It's actually just right. And it's got to do with the Proff's own shape, the way the cut of his jacket needs a certain cut of trousers. You've also been saying that the Proff's jacket is far too long, and I want to get a discussion going with him about this, because I think we need to understand that while we all have an opinion, and it's a free world or a free country or something, and everybody's entitled to his opinion, there are reasons that AskOkey does things the way it does. So could you join me, Okey, for a moment and rise to the occasion? And what we have here is the double-breasted lapels. Some of you have commented that brother's lapels too wide. Okay, so here's the brother, and here is lapels. And the honky is pointing out that they are fairly wide. The question would be, I think, what is too wide? Well, logically, if they came all the way past his shoulders, we would have to say they were far too wide. But they don't. Now, they're cut like this for a reason. It's not just that Proff likes wide lapels. The reason he likes wide lapels is because, could you elaborate, Okey?
Well, it's quite obvious. I'm quite broad-shouldered.
Yes, yes.
Very athletic in build. And so I have wide shoulders, and I have sort of, correspondingly a wide chest.
Yes.
And so your lapels have to complement the width of your chest.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing quite as, it's all about balance. So if you have a broad chest and you're wearing sort of those tiny little lapels, it just doesn't look right.
No.
The contrary, obviously, if you have small shoulders and you're wearing wide lapels, it overpowers your
That's right.
your figure.
That's right.
And so the trick is to sort of ensure that your lapels, or the lapel with whatever lapels you choose, are in harmony.
That's
with
right.
your
That's
build.
right. And sorry, if I can...
I am not going to make you a lapel with the exact same proportions as I wear.
No, logically
and
not.
I think this is a key thing to point out here, because when people see me on Instagram, or they see sort of my trousers and how big my trousers are, or how long my jacket is, or how they very few people have the presence of mind to let's say what's the right word for it, to convert or to kind of rationalize these proportions to their own selves. They just look at you and
that's right.
oh, I'm just going to wear Proff's clothes.
Which
I'm
you can't do.
Which you can't do. You can't possibly wear my clothes.
No.
And so when you look at me and look at the proportions, they are made exactly for me.
Yes.
And when we make your clothes, obviously, of course, we're going to take into consideration
as we do
your own unique
specific
proportions. And so that's my answer.
And another thing, everybody, part of the reason that the lapels actually look wider than they are is because of these buttons here, you see. It draws the eye here. And if Proff were wearing, for example, just a 4-button, double-breasted, or if the lapel was a bit longer, they would actually look narrower even though they aren't.
Well, yes and no, Pete. This is, again, sort of where design comes in. We designed our 4x1 coat, and we had to alter the design completely.
That's right.
Now, this lapel is about 5.5 inches or so wide. It's wider than our 4x1. And the reason it can be this wide is because it's a short lapel.
Yeah.
If it were any longer, it would be too big.
Because it would be wide all the way down.
It would be wide all the way down.
Yes.
The reason why we can get away with a wide lapel is because it's a 4x2. For our 4x1, which buttons around here, the lapel is slightly slimmer.
Yes.
And angled differently.
Sure.
So, you can't just sort of look at the there are a lot of things, a lot of elements that go into design.
I think this is the point here, is that for the people who look at these and think, oh golly, they're way too wide for me, you got to remember that the jacket is designed, but it's also designed around the person who's going to wear it. So if somebody sends in his measurements, sends some photographs, and we see that he's extremely thin, or short, for example, we're going to recommend a different lapel design entirely. Correct. So if you come up to here, if you're 5'5" or 5'6", we're going to make you a longer lapel.
Correct.
Because then it's going to accentuate your height. If you're wider or stouter in the waist, again, it's going to have to be different. So the reason you see it like this is because that's the way Okey is, but also that it is a style. And the style does sort of require the lapels of this width. Now, jacket length, Okey.
Correct.
Jacket length, big issue here. Big topic from everybody. Every time now that I've seen these comments, every time I put on my jacket, I always feel the bottom of it to think, really, is it too big?
Okay. Well, you're going to be the guinea pig.
Okay, I'm going to be the guinea pig.
And this is Pete's AskOkey coat, if you would be kind enough to stand here.
Right.
And this is an AskOkey coat in Finmerisco. It's a plaid. It's a beautiful, sweet.
It's a Glen check, isn't it?
It's a blue. It's sort of a Glen check. Not quite a Prince of Wales because it doesn't have the over checks. But it's a Glen check done in Finmerisco from our partners, Harrison's. It's it's a high twist.
It is.
It's just a beautiful cloth. Now, what is the right length for the coat? There are two basic things. There are two key things. One, it must clear your crotch, okay?
Right.
And it must clear your seat.
Yes.
So one, it must clear your seat. So there, right here, that's the bottom of your seat. Sorry, Pete.
It's okay. No, it's all right.
I don't mean to be, like you would say, affectionate.
No, it's all right. Okay, I trust you. Don't worry. I know you.
I don't mean to be affectionate as you borrowing your own specific words. But it needs to clear the seat.
Yep.
Completely, which this does. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, first thing, it needs to clear your seat. That is non-negotiable. Okay. Second thing, step back a little bit. Yeah. Just come a little bit into the frame. It needs to clear your crotch. So if you look at your crotch, right, somewhere there, again, Pete, I'm being a bit, very circumspect here.
Yeah.
But it needs to clear your crotch completely. So
Yes,
when you
it does,
button
yes.
your coat,
Yep.
that way, it needs to clear your crotch completely. Now, beyond clearing your crotch, how much longer?
Yeah, that's the question.
Is now a question of silhouette.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll stand back here as a guinea pig. Okay, I talk about silhouette all the time. Now, I think a lot of people, they look at the coat and the pants as two independent.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They look at them as two completely, and they don't think about the harmony that needs to be established when worn together.
Yeah.
And so when they buy a jacket, they buy it with no thought, really,
Yes.
as to how it's going to pair with the trousers.
Yeah, sure.
They just like the jacket, it looks nice, so it's nice fabric, blah, blah. They buy it. They don't care about the cut. They don't really think about the cut. But to establish proper silhouette, the jacket needs to dovetail with the trousers. And that is where the length of the jacket comes in. Because if you wear full cut trousers, as we do, they're cut very full here. Now, imagine if this jacket were shorter.
Yes.
It just doesn't look right.
Well, no, because the trousers then do look like bags
Absolutely.
or
They
balloons.
bag here.
Yeah.
They bag here because they're cut wide in the hips, right? And then when they bag here, what happens is that, it looks like two separate structures. Like the coat is sitting on top of a completely different figure.
Yeah.
Conversely, if the trousers were too slim and the coat were sort of, let's say, fully built and long, it then looks as though you were an inverted Christmas tree.
Yes.
You understand? So one needs to keep in mind the overall silhouette, top to bottom, when either having a suit tailored or your coat and or trousers tailored. And the length of the coat is going to be dictated by the proportion of the trousers.
So if you're wearing, what's the cuff opening? I think mine is 10 inches. What's yours?
About the same. So
About the
you
same,
and I
okay.
wear about 10 inches, exactly. So
Okay.
I recommend anyone, you're about 6 feet, I'm about 6'1". 6 feet, even 5'11", right? 5'10", 5'11", above, 10 inches is fine. When you start getting closer to, and again, it's going to depend on the size of your shoe.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a size 12 UK,
Wow.
right? Or 12 and a half UK. So, and I always adhere, or I always recommend the golden ratio,
Right.
which suggests, and if you stand here, let's use you for an example here, right?
I'm a size 8 UK.
Okay. So you can see your trouser covers more of your shoe
Yes.
than mine does. But you're tall, right? So it's not that obvious. But again, here, my trousers are exactly 2/3 the length.
Yes, they are. Yes.
The length of my shoe.
Yep.
Exactly 2/3. So 20 inches, or sort of 10 inches in diameter in this case, corresponds exactly to 2/3 the length of my shoe.
It does.
And so that's the way to determine the hem opening of your trousers. Now, the rest of it is really up to you. Some like it a little bit looser, sort of through the legs. Some like it a bit more fitted.
Or more tapered.
Absolutely. But this is really critical. The bottom is very, very critical, because if you think about it, the bookmarks, right, are your shoulders and your trouser hem.
And your trouser hem. Yeah.
And they need to be in balance. So if you're cutting, as we do, extended shoulders, right? If you're cutting extended shoulders like this, as we do, right? The eye needs to travel literally in a straight, barely interrupted line all the way to the hem.
Yes.
And to be able to achieve that harmony, right? The hem needs to be cut fairly wide. Otherwise, you appear as though you were an inverted Christmas tree.
Yes. Yes, I've seen comments on the social media. Some people saying that the AskOkey jackets are boxy. And I can understand that to somebody who's accustomed to those very narrow, very tightly cut clothes, they might look large. But in fact, I mean, even in your case, Oki, this jacket is hardly extended.
Well, look at me, okay? So when you talk about boxy, okay, there is shape to this. You can see the shape.
Yes.
Okay. Shoulders are slightly extended. Okay, they're structured. But then, if you look at the silhouette, there's a gentle nip in the waist,
That's right.
And then it comes out.
Yes.
And which is what you want. You know, you want sort of a very gentle nip in the waist.
That's
you don't
right.
want it too aggressive.
No.
I mean, I'm very athletic, so I could actually take the cloth a bit further in, right?
Yes,
but
you could, yes.
There's quite a bit of loose cloth here in my waist because I don't want that exaggerated because you don't want to depart from that mean. You don't want the eye departing from the mean. So, you know, in my case, I have wide shoulders and I have a very narrow waist. So part of what we do with tailoring is that we can manipulate the shape of the cloth to compensate for our natural, I don't want
deficiencies.
Deficiencies.
Deficiencies, is that the word? Defects?
In my case, I have a very narrow waist, but I don't want to accentuate
no,
that.
Indeed.
So the way I ameliorate that is by adding a bit of excess cloth in the waist to just sort of to minimize or to neutralize the shape of the waist.
Well, there's also the comfort factor, Oki, because you don't want to be sort of tied in like a straitjacket, you know.
Correct.
So you want to have room to move inside it, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
Rather than, and especially when you do your your real dances, you want to be able, the jacket to move around you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Super stuff. Let's sit back down.
Thank you, Peter.
So there we have it. The coat fits. It's not that it's too big. It's that the man wearing it is of a certain size and therefore needs a coat of that size. It's not that the trousers are baggy. Again, the trousers go with the coat and form a silhouette. There we are. Lessons learned. So once again, everybody, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you all very much for the engagement you provide us, the comments, the poems, and we look forward to being with you again
Before
soon.
we leave, Pete, do you mind if we look at your suit?
No, by all means. You can look at it, yes.
Let's have a look, actually.
Let's have a look, okay.
So this is...
an AskOkey suit.
Is an AskOkey, and as you all know by now, Pete loves his 3-button coats. He has a very religious adherence to them.
Yes.
And it suits him. So this is a 3-button coat, a proper 3-button, not a 3-roll 2, such as I have a few 3-roll 2s, but this is a proper 3-button, cut as a 3-button. And it's just a simple, I guess I would say an office or business suit.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Beautiful sleeves hanging perfectly. Shoulders slightly extended, just slightly. And the reason, again, the shoulders are extended, you can see why, is that it allows the sleeves to drape properly in a perpendicular fashion.
That's
like
right.
that, just
That's
like
right.
a ledge.
That's right.
Very clean shoulders, beautiful shoulder head. If you turn around a little bit, Pete. Sitting very nicely, clean across the top of the back with a little bit of extra drape here, a little bit of room in the back if you would come just here. Just a little bit of extra room in the back for movement. So just move your arms a little bit forward. You can see where all that cloth goes when he moves his arms, and that is to aid mobility. And then the rest of it just lies very clean back, not tight, just enough room here. And it sits very cleanly over the seat of the jacket. And then, of course, the trousers are Pete's typical and usual classic.
Yes, I like the large trousers there, everybody. Don't worry, that's all I'm going to flash.
There you go.
But yes, I like them as wide as possible. I don't like to feel the cloth on my legs.
Correct.
and I don't when I'm wearing
Correct.
AskOkey. And again, you'll notice, everybody, there's a fold here. Now, okay, this is important because some people will look at this and think that it's a mistake by the tailor, you see. You see that fold there?
And the reason we do this, Pete, is this. You see this fold? It gives you that extra movement.
It certainly does, yes.
It gives you that extra movement. So when you do like that, right? Or you do like that.
Sure.
Exactly. You see, especially when you spread your arms this way, right? There's no binding.
No, good Lord, no.
There's no binding here, right? If we didn't cut enough room into the chest, what happens when you spread your arms, your jacket goes up, right?
But this doesn't.
Because there's not enough cloth here, right? So the jacket basically, the arms basically pull the jacket and it pulls your jacket up, and you don't want that.
No.
And so that's why we cut that extra room here in the chest, so to give you a bit more mobility.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing, is that again, there's a reason for it. Just like there's a reason for the size of the Proff's lapels, and there's a reason why, for example, these lapels are cut to a particular width. It's not that I said I want 3-inch lapels or something. I didn't, in fact, tell the tailor at all. I didn't tell AskOkey I want 3-inch lapels. They just made them like that because they know that's the way it ought to be. So, great stuff, Okey.
Very well. As always, Pete.
Pleasure.
Great pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Most welcome. Most welcome. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time, everybody.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night now.
Good night.